There's a loud, papery, crumpling noise as Ven pulls her invitation back out and starts quickly rereading what it actually said. She does move forward, but she doesn't turn her back on anybody. And she pulls out one of her daggers.
I see you sort of creeping forwards towards the group and pulling out a dagger, and I kind of spin round.
That definitely makes me take another step back. I might not trust.
We didn't have time for a proper introduction. I don't put my my spear down, but I kind of like turn away as if I'm like indicating I'm still okay with you, and I'm just like now I'm like my shield is perpendicular to you so that I can quickly move your way if you go to stab me with your dagger, but I can also quickly go the other way if something else comes. And so I'm kind of like half and half, hedging my bet. Say, my name is Jocelyn of Olivano.
Nice to meet you, Lady Jocelyn. And Lady Vasana Bertars. You may have heard of my family.
Have I?
Should have.
Yes, probably have.
It depends where in the world you're from, but yeah, it's quite a well-known family, a noble family name. Yeah, you probably don't know anything about them, but you may have like the name will ring a bell. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a pleasure to meet your acquaintance. I'm sorry that it had to be under such circumstances. And then I sort of turn my back to you as again, trusting you a little more now.
She does wave her dagger about a tiny bit more, but uses it to point at some of the text on the invitation, and goes, "To right the wrongs of ages past, to lift the curse of darkness."
I interrupt you there, and I'm like, that's why I'm here, to right the wrongs.
We all got a letter that said the same thing then. Word for word. I put my spear down and get my letter out.
I slowly pull out my letter as well. I see you with yours, and I move closer.
You can
Forgotten
definitely...
place is revealed once more. Will you fare better than those that came before? To right the wrongs of ages past and lift the curse of darkness at long last. Travel forth along the guided trail and pray to your gods you do not fail. For you who have been chosen to this message sent to invite you to free the House of Lament.
You'll notice when you're comparing that your notes that the text is exactly the same, but the maps are individual to you.
Can I look at can I compare two of them and see if they are handwritten or whether they seem to have been like copied by magic or something? Are they like exactly the same?
They are exactly
aside from the
exactly the same.
There's even the same stroke on the T here. You can see this one. They're the same. These are the same notes.
Heard of the House of Lament?
Neither have I don't think.
No one. That does not ring a bell to anyone, no.
Okay. Carrie's going to look over at Ben, and with a faint glimmer of recognition, she feels like there's probably a good chance she's looked after one of that family's children at some point in the last 170 oddish years. And then continue to look at her note, or what's left of it. Mostly it's a bit torn from where her head rolled on it.
Actually, Wraithe, can you make a history check? Oh wow. Roll20's in a good mood today.
Oh, another nat 20. The two first checks of the game.
Should we all just roll the d20 and see what happens?
See what happens.
No,
it's you gotta wait for it to be important, right?
Roll20 doesn't like you though, Tiles, so it's gonna give you a 1.
I love it. I definitely love it.
It'll make it. It'll feel like it has to make itself good in your books by giving you all 20s.
I hope so.
20 is best boy.
So considering that you've looked after many children from many families in your time, something about this place stirs a memory in your mind of a family called the Halvrests. So yeah, Halvrest family. They had a little girl and a boy, and you remember that it was quite a nice house. You don't remember that much about it. You weren't there for very long, but you retired from that family. You went off to a different family, and then there were these rumors that the family had disappeared. No one really knows what happened to them. And while you
I'm familiar with this area.
No, the area doesn't look like you. No one. It's really hard to distinguish where you are. You don't have any memory of this location in relation to that place. It's all just very new to you. While you all ponder that for a second, I will be right back.
I'm gonna start side-eyeing everybody's clothing and looking for pendants or iconography that would indicate that you worship particular gods. Travel forth along the guided trail and pray to your gods you do not fail is catching my eye, and I'm looking to see which arrangement of worshippers we have.
So, you see me in the middle of my chest, in between my collar. There's actually a tiny little raven's head there. And I, as soon as I saw this guy turn into a raven type bird and fly away, I kind of just like adjusted my collar to try and hide this.
I'm gonna see if I recognize it. What did I get? I got a 15 religion. Do you reckon I would know who your god is or not?
I reckon you would. Yeah.
Raven Queen?
It's not the Raven. My god is Tyr, the god of justice. But I chose to have this as my holy symbol to link me to him.
How about you, Elaine? Any religious iconography that I see on you?
No, you see that her corset is basically riddled with metal enforcements. Her corset is a leather armor. Mm-hmm. And she's nervously fiddling a little box on her belt. It looks wooden, but otherwise you don't see anything on her.
How about Ven?
Ven is slightly nondescript for a half-elf. She's average size, her hair's average coloured. There isn't really anything distinguishing about her. She's enhanced this by her clothes are all in shades of grey.
It's like she's making an effort to be inconspicuous.
Or she's used to not being seen.
Right. So no symbols. How about Kerry?
No, Kerry doesn't have any religious iconography on her. You will probably see various things like maybe the buckle on the belt or the latch on the belt pouch may have a bit of a cog, kind of, a little bit similar to a cog or
right,
or gears or things like that. But otherwise, no.
but I can't make it out as being religious. After nothing's happened for a minute, I sort of drop my guard a little bit more, and I think about the line to pray to your gods, you do not fail. And so I start a prayer to the Red Knight in whatever form that usually takes. I'll sort of go down to put my shield out in front, and rest my spear on the top of it. It's like one of those, what are they called? One of those like crescent moon shields that you can put your spear through. It's one of those shields. Yeah. And I kind of rest my spear on top, and I take a knee behind it, and as a dwarf I can like fit almost my whole body behind my shield, with my spear out in front. And that's sort of the most tactical position that I can get in while also being resting, which is the position that you're meant to take when you're praying to the Red Knight. And I'll just do a little prayer, specifically praying that I do not fail, as the words of the poem recommend.
So as you've been talking amongst each other, you'll suddenly notice that down the 5 paths that you all came from, the mists have started getting closer and closer and closer. Like, you can almost... It's like you can't really see down there much anymore. You can see like the junction that you're in at the moment, but looking back where you came from, it's so much more heavily obscured now. The only clear way, seemingly, is the path north. There's still a few large feathers on the floor. Carrie picked one of them up. Carrie, can you make a perception check as well as you're standing right there? Underneath the pile of remaining feathers, you, especially with one of the dancing lights kind of hovering over it, there's something underneath the feathers that's kind of glinting in the light.
I'll pick up another feather, and I'll use that feather to shoo the other ones away, spread out the pile, and have a closer look at what's under it.
Okay, lying on the floor, you see you're not quite sure what material it's made from at the moment without picking it up, but it looks like a solid object, probably about the size of kind of like the palm of your hand, and it's a teardrop shape object with a hole in the center of it, and it's inlaid with carvings of ravens in a kind of a silvery color. So like the object itself is a dark brown or black, and then it's got kind of like a silver inlay design.
I will use Mage Hand to pick it up.
Okay, anyone who is watching Carrie, if anyone is watching Carrie,
yeah, sure.
You've probably all seen a Mage Hand before, but what happened here is it's almost like a piece of her shadow breaks away. You can see it flickering in the dancing light. This kind of hand-shaped shadow kind of creeps towards this object and grasps around it. And it picks it up. Nothing happens. It picks it up. Fine.
Okay.
Yeah, Elaine, seeing the metal gleam over there, she's moving over there and looking basically over your shoulder. Oh, pretty.
Carrie will turn around and show it to the others to see if they know what it is.
You can all make... And let me just check the list of skills. I was going to say occult check, and then realised no, that's from the Cthulhu game the other night. Arcana or religion?
Oh. Religion
Everybody?
Everybody, yeah.
Religion would have been an 11.
Elaine, you recognise this immediately, especially as you're quite used to communing with the spirits. This looks like a planchette for a spirit board.
Oh, a spirit board.
Okay.
I don't use these.
But you
But-
would have heard of them.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so this is used with the spirit board, but I don't see any board here. Has anybody seen a board on their way here?
No, I haven't. What does one look like?
There's some kind of symbols and letters on it to basically make the spirit show words on it. Something like that.
Right. I think I've heard of them. No, I haven't seen one. You sure that that's what this is?
Pretty sure. It's a tool to communicate with the spirits if you don't have, and she pets her box on the belt.
I look around the forest looking for any of my watchers to see if they're around.
I just want to address something that Fancy just did. Yeah, your spirits are whispering at you that the lady she's talking about talking with spirits. That's dangerous. She seems really scary. Please don't go near her. We don't want to talk to her.
Yeah. Ven starts to back away from the group.
Jocelyn, you can definitely, like squinting through the fog, you can just about make out there's an owl sitting in one of the branches of one of the trees. On another tree, you might see a bat hanging upside down.
Yeah.
The
They're
little
still
kind of
here.
like scurrying of like field mice kind of thing in the roots.
I look at you
No.
backing away, and I'm like, where are you going?
Yeah. This is surprising. We just were so cozy and then she runs away?
It's getting very, very misty the further out you go, though, Fancy.
It's not
Carrie is going to take the plant shard from her shadow hand, and she's just going to pop it in a belt pouch and say, I'm just going to pop it away. You don't need to keep running.
Ven pulls out her other dagger and yells, "Why should we trust you? We're being herded here, and you seem to be taking charge."
I just found it. Would you like to carry it?
Put it down.
I don't think it's a good idea to leave it here.
Can we see who she's or what she's afraid of?
It's quite difficult to tell. She's kind of like acting suspicious at all of you, but make an insight check. Okay, yep. Jocelyn and Elaine. Yeah, she seems very skittish at the moment, but her eyes keep darting back to Elaine quite a lot.
Okay. Elaine is backing away and drawing her lights in case that makes a difference to her.
Her eyes are following them and then flicking back to you, but both daggers are out and ready.
Yeah, I can't do anymore. I don't see her anymore in the darkness.
I've skirted round and made my way over to where the pile of feathers are, and I pick one up.
Okay, it looks like a normal bird feather, except the scale is human size.
I just place it in my bag and keep watching what's going on while I sort of back away a little bit down towards the north, non-misty route.
And after a minute or so, then the voice, the spirits kind of calm down a little bit.
I'm going to head to the north. If anyone wishes to join me, you are welcome to do so. I think, tactically, we'd better be sticking together for whatever trials we face ahead.
Carrie's going to silently agree with that.
Elaine is constantly looking backwards if she sees Ven coming out of the darkness, but she follows slowly.
Ven waits for Elaine to move. And slowly skirts behind her, keeping.
I sort of turn after a while of backing. Once most people are coming, I sort of turn and just walk and talk with Ibarth. I say, what's your clan name?
Flintjaw, what's yours?
Olivano.
Oh,
Oh, the Flintjaws. Can I do like a history or something, see if I've heard of the Flintjaws, being that we're both hill dwarves?
Yeah, go for it.
Can I do the same?
Yeah.
Rob, can you roll for me? Roll 20 hates me.
No, it
happened.
You mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
we got it. Oh, are you not seeing it?
It's come up
No.
on mine. You got a 5, Talia.
Oh, okay, cool.
I wondered if that's why you were saying it hates you, because you rolled a 2.
All right. With a 12 though, yeah, the Flintjaw clan. Again, you don't really know anything about them, but it does ring a bell.
Oh yes, from the southern ranges, I think. Sorry, I'm not super familiar with you. My family's always been from the north. My mother's mountain dwarf, so I'm a little bit more familiar with the ranges to the north than I am to the hills in the south. But it's a pleasure to have another dwarf on the trail with us. I'm saying all of this in common because I want to make sure that the others don't have extra reason to mistrust me.
Okay.
You seem familiar. That jawline, I've seen that before, I swear.
Perhaps. I just keep walking forward slowly.
Yep. Okay, so you're walking for about another. You're not entirely sure how long, but it feels like maybe about half an hour, 45 minutes. Is Ven kind of trailing behind a little bit, like kind of at the back, keeping a little bit of distance? So. I presume. And then eventually the narrow woodland path opens out, and before you stands a tall building. The previous map was one that I did, but from this point onwards, all maps of the house were done by my very, very good friend Jim, who's in the chat. He's only time will tell in the chat. Thank you so much, Jim. I tried to do some of these on stream a couple of weeks ago, and mine looked like absolute shite compared to these. So I'm using his.
Thank you, Jim.
They're really good.
So all that we can see outside, everything, all of this is like outside porch situation?
Yeah, so I'll give you a description. So the house appears to be an ordinary structure, but it's in ill repair. So it looks like it hasn't been lived in for quite some time. As you approach the porch, so it's like they've got a very big deck. But once you get up on there, you'll notice that a lot of the floorboards have they started to rot, and they're very, very creaky and broken. The house itself, as you look up, is a 3-story building. It is quite large. It looks like was once quite a large, grand, posh-looking manor house. To the left side of the structure is a tower that goes up tall. It's like the tallest part of the house. It goes above the roof of the main house. It's quite obvious that the tower and the house are separate pieces of architecture. The tower looks much, much older, and it looks like the house was built kind of around the tower. Like it was.
The tower's a stone tower?
The tower is a stone tower, yes.
Can I see, can I make any, I have stone cunning as a dwarf. From this distance, can I make out anything to do with like the origin of the stonework? Is it like dwarven made, elven made? How old does it look, that sort of thing?
So don't worry about rolling for this kind of thing. So it looks human made. But it definitely looks like it was fortifications. Like the original structure was actually a castle rather than a house. So yeah, the tower is the remains of like a castle tower.
I think in the like half an hour that we've been walking, I've been trying to like lighten the mood a little bit just between me and Ibolth, just by chatting a little bit more, having a bit more small talk and stuff. And then as we approach and we see this, and I say, well, if ever there was a House of Lament, I think we found it. If ever there was a house worthy of that name. And then I see the tower and I look it over and I say, what do you think? Human?
Yeah, it must be human, but it's pretty well made for a human.
For a human, yes. But you can tell from the and I'd say some sort of stonework terms. You can tell by the battlements at the top there that you can tell that this used to be a whole castle out here this way. I wouldn't be surprised if it fell down. Bloody human work. Never putting enough work into the grain of the rock and which direction it's facing. Just get it in there.
Can't believe they just built a house around it. They should have just rebuilt the castle.
They should have rebuilt the castle. And then a typical human to go, oh well, this part's fallen down. Let's replace it with wood. As if wood has anything on stonework.
Vin interrupts and goes, well, they made the most of the erection that was there.
I suppose they did.
Yeah. Seems pretty smart. Reusing stuff.
I take a step forward and I'm the first to stand on the steps and make my way up onto it.
Like this.
Right, so I suppose I'll get my letter back out. I suppose we have to free the House of Lament. Ooh, nice.
Ooh.
Sound effects, baby. Right.
Take a step to the side and sort of look down the side of the house, and then I look up to see if there's any like windows open. If it seems like the sort of thing where if I called out, people inside would hear me.
Any windows are boarded up and shuttered up. There doesn't seem to be any sign of activity that you can determine, except for as you look down, you notice that kind of crawling around the floorboards are kind of a few bugs, like wood lice, earwigs, that kind of thing.
Elaine very carefully makes up her way on the stairs and grips the railing and makes sure that every step is safe.
I definitely try to walk on rotten floorboards and be like, oh, see, it's just not dwarven.
I'm sort of like giving it this like shh, trying to gather people together, just like we should. I'm trying to be tactical about how we approach this.
Gary notices that and just like walks away from the door that she was going for.
I just head straight to the door.
In Dwarvish, I call out, "Stop!"
I turn and look at you guys. And I motion for you guys to come. I don't go inside, but I also don't come towards you.
I sort of think twice, and then I motion to the rest of us to like move towards. And I just say to the rest of us as I start to walk there, I'm like, we need to think carefully about how we approach this.
Carrie's going to ask, so we don't just knock on the door?
No, not in a situation like this, I don't think.
Oh.
Listen. Thanks for joining us, Vinzana. I say, listen. We don't know what we're about to face here. We've all been summoned for various reasons, unbeknownst to ourselves. I think it's wise that, although we don't know each other, we all need to put a certain aspect of trust in one another. Now, I'm not saying that we need to trust each other fully. For all I know, you're all working against me, or you're working with them. But I don't think that having no trust at all is going to get us through this. So, let's talk. I have certain abilities granted me by my god that allow me certain extra tactical mind in combat. I can undergo sort of a religious... I've never really known how to describe it. I can undergo a certain religious temporary transformation that will allow me to reduce the amount of damage that I take from incoming combat and know where to strike my enemies in a much more efficient way. I think that for that reason, I should be the first person to enter some rooms. I'm a little bit more capable of enduring certain setbacks than many others. Now, I'm sure you're all capable, otherwise we would not have been summoned here together. But perhaps you can tell me a little of your talents and expertise. And perhaps together we can work out what it is about us that has summoned us together. Elaine.
Carrie.
Was it Elaine or Carrie that had the shadowy mage hand?
Carrie.
Carrie, I couldn't help but notice that you had a particular way of picking up that planchette before. Care to tell me a little about it?
My shadow seems to help me sometimes. I guess you could say. Sometimes they're not so helpful.
I see.
I'm not sure how much helpful they'll be in this situation, though. I imagine the spells I can do would probably be a little bit more useful.
You're a magic user.
I am. It comes with this, and she'll point to her crown.
I see. Well, perhaps that will be useful indeed. How about the rest of you?
Only Ven hears the following sound.
Fancy has roll 20 muted.
Oh, damn it.
Hang on, let me fix that.
Okay, it's like creaky floorboards.
Creaking of floorboards. So only Fancy didn't hear that sound.
so only Ven heard that, and it sounded like it was coming from behind you, kind of like over to the edge of the decking.
Okay, Ven spins around and like tries to identify where it came from.
I notice her move, and I look at Jocelyn and say, "This one's skittish."
Vinzana, you have a certain skittishness about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Understandably, given our circumstances, but
Shh.
What do you hear?
There's a noise coming from over there, and she gestures with one of her daggers.
Could you be a little more specific? An animal? A wind? Sound of pebbles? Gravel?
It sounded like somebody on the deck.
I see.
I've still got roll 20 muted. Let me unmute it again.
Well, I don't hear it, so perhaps you have keener ears and eyes than I. That could possibly come in useful for us. Keep your senses honed. Evolve. What do you imagine has brought you here?
I help those who deserve it. So I can help.
I see
those
you.
who need it.
I see you're a follower of Tyr. And I gesture to the raven that's worked its way out of your cloak again as we walked.
Yeah. Yes. I'm concerned that it's like that we saw.
Like what?
Oh, no, never mind. I go back and think to myself, and then I say, I can also see. I can also help see if I need to. I need to concentrate, but I can help us see if evil's nearby. But it takes a lot of my energy.
I see. That would be very useful in a time of need. But perhaps Elaine, or whoever it was that suggested we just knock on the door. I think it was Elaine, wasn't it?
It was me again.
Was
Gary.
it Carrie again? Well, perhaps Carrie had the right idea before we bust in here. Perhaps we just knock and see who's home. Elaine, you're awful quiet. I noticed your motes of light. Awful useful for a person without such a good nighttime vision.
Yeah,
what else can you do?
Well, the spirits, they talk to me. They tell me things, sometimes of the future, sometimes of the past. And they help me do stuff as well, if I plead with them. Sometimes it goes a bit out of hand, but mostly they do what I want for a certain time. So, yeah, but you see, especially with your tactical knowledge, she has no physical capabilities of fighting at all.
Right, yeah. That's going to come in awful useful, Elaine. But I suggest you stay behind me at all times.
Yeah, will do.
Ben.
She nods frantically.
Will my mage hand feel things that are invisible? Like, will it stop if there's something there that I can't see?
Yeah, you have a kind of... I don't know, to be honest. You have enough of a connection with it that you're able to control it picking up things that you can see. I would imagine there is... I mean, let me just read your version of it. Because it depends whether it's like incorporeal or because if something is invisible, it might just go straight through it. You wouldn't even realise.
I'm trying to gesture to Ven to be like, what is it? What's going on?
Ven has kind of wandered over and has had a sort of peek round the side of the house to see if she could identify where the noise is, and she's currently got her back to the back of the house. So she kind of is looking over at you occasionally. You going, yeah, okay. And she kind of makes her way back. And you notice that she's decently good at avoiding all the creaky wood on her way back. It's almost like she's learned how to move quietly.
I just nod at you curtly, and then I turn and walk to the front door. And there's no way of seeing inside it, is there? There's no like cracks or breaks or anything in the wood.
Okay, yeah, I would say if you were controlling the mage hand and it interacted with something that you couldn't see, it would have some sort of visible effect, like especially with the shadowy hand. The shadow, if it hit something, it would almost kind of become distorted, the shape of it, so you would know that something would be there.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll cast Mage Hand and I'll use that to knock on the door because I'll stay where I am.
Yeah, I get my shield up and spear ready as you do.
Yeah. I'll wait for Jocelyn to give me a nod, and then I'll knock. And once I've knocked on the door, I'll use my hand and send it over here somewhere, and I'll just like send it like all willy-nilly all over the place to try and see if it hits anything.
Okay. So, if everyone's ready, then the mage hand knocks. Jocelyn and Ibolth, who are standing right at the door, you think you can hear the sound of an internal door open. And then you hear a male voice. Hello? From inside.